Hi, it's Dorothy Guining with Scrapbooking Quebec. In this video, I'm going to share with you the layouts I created in June 2021 with the kit I put together at the beginning of the month. This was my kit made from 9 collections, and if you want a closer look, I will put a link to the kit building video below. I ended up creating 29 layouts, and there are process videos for some of them. They will be listed and linked below as well. I had 2 designer focuses this month. First, it was to continue with the sketches for 6x6 paper pads class that I started in May. And throughout the share, you're going to see some pages I created as part of this class. My second designer focus was to read a book about writing, the magic of memoir. And I'll talk more about this at the end of the video. Also at the end, I'm going to tell you about my summer plans for YouTube. Before starting, there are a few things I want to go over. Throughout the share, sometimes I'm going to be putting one page on the table and then the coordinating page. Those are double page spreads that started with a single page layout and then I stretched it. Take note, the first original page is usually more complicated and the page 2 designs are always simple. And these usually take 30 minutes to complete or even less. Also, at the end of the video, there will be still shots, so you're going to get a second chance to see the layouts I'm about to share with you. Finally, I covered some of the photos. So without further ado, let's get started. Now, the first 10 pages I'm going to show you are all from Vicki Boutin's Color Study collection. This one here, I did it on YouTube for the Scrapbook Nerds, so I will put a link to that video in the description box below. And while I'm showing you these pages, at first, I just want to talk a little bit about Vicki Boutin's Color Study collection, because as much as I loved this collection, I bought nearly everything. It threw me for a loop when I first started working with it. It is very colorful, like its name suggests. And for me, I need a lot of breathing room when I create pages, and I was just totally thrown for a loop. So anyway, you're going to see kind of how I ended up relying a lot on white and black cardstock for these layouts, which I do anyway, but it was even more important, I found, for this particular collection. And I also ended up changing some of my photos into black and white prints as opposed to colored. Not for all of them, but for some of them. You can see here, these 2 layouts look very similar to the ones that I just showed you. I did these 2 ones first. There was a color wheel paper, a big circle in this collection, and I created that ViewMaster with it. So then I decided to use the other half of that wheel for the other page, and then I did that one on YouTube. Here's another one I did on YouTube for the collaboration A Punched Out Thursday to Die For. This one was inspired by a sketch from that 6x6 paper pad class. Anyway, a link to this process video will be listed below. I ended up creating a 9-block grid that was a bit bigger than what was on the sketch, but anyway, it worked for my photos. And you can see the page 2 design there. Again, very, very simple, a border and 1 photo. Here are 2 more layouts. These ones do have color prints, you just don't see them. I ended up creating that big arrow there, and that triangle that I'm pointing to with the journaling in was actually cut out with a stitched triangle die that was part of my kit at the beginning of the month. That was the only place I used it, but I'm really happy. I do like the journaling in that triangle. You can see I created a large embellishment cluster in the top left and a repetition of that in the bottom right, which is something I often do when I create a double page layout. It kind of guides the eye across 2 pages. Here's another one. This is just a single page layout. I actually did this one for the Scrapbook Nerd. I used the Vicki Boutin Foundations paper as an embellishment, basically, as opposed to a background paper. They are like watercolor backgrounds. I'm not really into that, but what I did was I ran it through my die cutting machine and I created flowers, and I really liked it. Here's another one I did. I did this one for the Scrapbook Nerd as well, and there is a process video for this one. It's linked up below. This was the first page I created as part of this color study collection. I was just getting my head around using all of these colors at this point. I'm about to change collections here. This one is going to be the Simple Stories Vintage Cottage Fields collection, and I created 4 pages with it, 2 double page spreads. This first one here, I did it on YouTube for the collaboration A Punched Out Thursday to Die For. And that video obviously will be linked up below. I found this collection a little bit difficult to work with, to be perfectly honest. It has a vintage, shabby chic look about it, which is not a style I typically use. You can see there the double page I created to go with it. I made sure to incorporate a lot of that black plain paper there, and I kind of toned it down a bit. It still is more busy than what I would normally do. I do like it, but again, the collection for me threw me for a loop. This was a difficult kit for me this month. Here are 2 more pages. Now the first one I'm showing you, I did it on YouTube just the other day for the collaboration Scrapbooking from the Heart. That's a collaboration where we are inspired by one-word prompts designed to make us think about our stories in a little bit more depth. And June's prompt was the word grow. I'm showing you the double page I created to go with it. This one here has a lot of photos, a lot of straight lines. It almost looks like a newspaper format, but I really actually like it. For me, this is a type of layout that's very pleasing to the eye, full of information and a lot of photos. Anyway, in the video that is listed below, there are some tricks. Number 1, about embellishing, but there are also tricks about journaling and journaling formatting. I'm changing collections here. This is Pink Fresh Studios Some Days collection. So for this one page here, I did it as part of that 6x6 paper pads class. And I'm about to show you the second page that I created to coordinate with it. When I show you the second page, these are not part of the same story. They are actually just going to go side by side in my album. What I would like to say about this Some Days collection is when I first bought it, I thought it was okay, but not amazing. I ended up loving everything I've created with this collection. Last month, I think I created 8 pages with it. This month, 4, and all I have are scraps left. And I've loved everything I've created with it. I'm going to show you 2 more layouts that I created with this collection. Now, this first one I'm about to show you, the background paper, I actually used a cut-apart sheet as my background paper. I've done this before. I really do like the look. What's important, I find, when you use that as a background paper is that you really separate your photos from the background paper because it's a very busy look. Anyway, you're also going to see that the page 2 I created to coordinate with it is very simple. A lot of white space, a lot of resting space for the eye, a simple 4-block grid, 1 small embellishment in the middle, and that is it. Now I'm going to change collections here now, and I'm using the Simple Stories Hello Today collection. This is all I created with it this month, and this one here I did on YouTube for the collaboration Stretch the Sketch. So basically I created a layout based on a sketch, which is the page you see on the left, and I stretched it to the right. So all I did was essentially stretch it over, repeat the photos, and then I added 2 more photos and created a focal point area. I'm going to change collections here again, and this time I'm moving outside my comfort zone into Doodlebug Design. This is part of the Made with Love collection. This particular page design is part of that 6x6 paper pad class. Again, I've done several this month with that. It's a really fun class. And here is the page 2 that I created to coordinate with it. As you can see, I created my own embellishments for these 2 layouts. For me, that's a lot easier. Doodlebug Design, I love the colors, I love the papers, but I do have a bit of a hard time with the smiley faces on the embellishments. Actually, here are 2 more pages made with Doodlebug Designs, but this is a different collection. It's the Barbie Cute collection. But for this one here, I did use the embellishments, and I ended up spending a lot of time trying to hide those smiley faces. You can see here the page design I used is the very same one I did for Stretch the Sketch. So basically, the Barbie Cute collection was my practice page for Stretch the Sketch. I'm showing you the 2 layouts side by side just so that you can see how different they look even though it's the same page design. Different photos, different material. It really does create a different look. So I'm going to change collections here again. I think right now it's going to be the Paige Evans Truly Grateful collection. Again, this is the same page design I showed you a little bit earlier. It's part of that 6x6 paper pads class. It's a 9-block grid. And like I mentioned earlier, I ended up creating mine a little bit larger. Now for this one, the page 2 design is different than what I showed you earlier. I create the page 2 design simply to adapt to the photos that I have. And in this case, I happen to have 3 photos. But again, very simple page design, just lined up across the middle. I've got a block in the middle, which is to repeat the block on the other side. And I had 2 embellishment clusters. Changing collections here. This is the Jen Hadfield, the Avenue collection. This here also is part of that 6x6 paper pad class, but I did not use 6x6 paper pads, and you're going to see I tried doing what they did in the class, but it just didn't work for the story. You can see what I originally did, lots of strips of paper, and actually on the class, those were banners. But the story I'm telling here is a very sad story, and banners were too celebratory, and I found the strips of paper too busy for my really bad photos. These are my last days with my old kitty. His name was Lord Stanley, and he basically died of kidney disease, something he was born with. So he didn't have a very long life, and he was a lovely cat. This was a very difficult few days for me. I've wanted to document it since 2019, and I just didn't have the heart to do it. I felt like doing it, so I just got it done, but I definitely had to adapt the design to work to the solemnness of the story. Now I'm about to show you the last 2 pages, but this one here I actually created about a year ago. It was part of a class from Redefine Creative that I did, and I never did the page 2. So again, that one there is probably a 15-minute page, just a very simple page design, 4-block grid. I just wanted to create the page 2 to coordinate with it. The beginning of 2021, I had about 20 pages. I had to do the page 2, and I'm slowly but surely working my way through. Anyway, here are the pages that I created in June 2021. And while showing you the still shots, I just want to wrap up my June designer focus. So I'm still loving the Scrapbook Generation Allison Davis Sketches for 6x6 paper pad class. This class is sketch and Facebook based. It's inexpensive, very inspiring, and it's just a great deal. I'll put a link to the Scrapbook Generation classes below in case you're interested. My second designer focus was to read a book, The Magic of Memoir by Linda Joy Mayers and Brooke Warner. I was curious to know if it would help me with my scrapbook journaling. This book is divided into short chapters, and each one is devoted to an author. Some of them are interviews, others offer practical writing advice or tell personal, inspiring stories. And the overall message that I got anyway is memoir writing is personal, truthful, and very difficult to write. Almost all of the authors feared hurting people through their writing, and much of their inspiration was born of hardship. That's pretty heavy stuff. There were also an overall message of healing, and many of these authors spoke of the therapeutic benefits of their writing, not only for them, but for the people they feared hurting. And for me, I found this really interesting. So how can this apply to my scrapbook journaling? Well, as a scrapbooker, I'm not going to shame people in my albums. That's not what I want to do. However, I will document my life, the good and the bad. I already do that, but after reading this book, I'm even more convinced to do so. Life isn't perfect, but that's what makes it a good story. Anyway, now let's move on to my summer YouTube plans. So I'm going to be slowing down a bit because, well, it's summer. And in July and August, I'm going to be doing 4 process videos a month. So 8 in all. I can't give you a fixed day for these videos, but in each video, I should be able to tell you the date of the next one. Also, if you like watching my videos, you may want to click on the bell icon so you will get notification when I post. I do have a kit put together for July and August. I'm just not going to do a kit share. And like my past kits, half of it's new, half of it's old. And I am going to be also working with a collection I created on YouTube based on the Mountain Trek paper pack by Paper Rose. I did that not long ago. And for that one, I do plan on doing a layout share. I just have no idea when at this point. So my next process video will be on Monday, July 5th, and that's about it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I'd be absolutely thrilled if you did. Also, don't forget to come back on July 5th and see what I'm doing. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.